This video will contain spoilers. Hot shots. Mixed ratings, I watch on Disney Plus. Charlie Sheen, John Cryer, Ryan Stiles, Pat Proft, Carrie Elwes. Miguel Ferrer doesn't appear in the Spawnies in the second one, which I haven't seen yet. So, I seen this with Ben Man because he wanted me to watch the Harry Potter films with him, and in turn, we were going to watch Saw, but we only seen the first two because in between us watching Saw 2 and us going to watch Saw 3, it was removed from ITVX. So I was like, I decided that I was gonna put on some films that, since he's a fan of Scary Movie, I think he would like the Leslie Nielsen type films. And I put on Airplane, which, yeah, you like that, and this, which I actually hadn't seen before, but I knew that it was similar. And yeah, it was great. It's weird seeing Charlie Sheen and John Cryer do something, because I thought that they wouldn't have done anything together until 2.5 Men. It going into this, I thought there's no way that we're gonna get a film like Top Gun parody. We're not gonna have something where they're constantly flying, and it's gonna be funny. Like, I get the airplane, they're in there, but that's not what I mean, because there's been airplane, and this is that in the airplane there's enough space for a lot of people, and there's room for physical comedy shit. So, when it came to this, the planes are just gonna have enough room for 2 people, and it's not like they can really interact with each other. I get that, Top Gun had scenes that weren't in the air, but, it's like the majority of it, and I thought this would be the majority as well. I don't have a problem with them doing only a certain amount in the air, because budget, and there's not a lot of funny things you can do there, but they did, despite that, they blew it out of the water. Like, I loved it when the terrorists came, and their fucking names were like hummus and shit, and then one of them was like about to die, and he was like, "Oh, shish kebab." There was a scene in this that disgusted me a bit, which is weird because I wasn't disgusted by the boys. The scene was Charlie Sheen's character and the therapist, like, they have sex, but they like play with their food, and he like puts an olive in her belly button, and then like it shoots into her mouth, and there was something about that I just didn't like. It was funny, but it just was off-putting. It was weird seeing Carrie Elwes in a comedy, because I'm sure I've seen him in things before, but I just didn't really know who he was until Saw, but it's not like I was like, oh, holy shit, he's doing comedy. I knew that he played Robin Hood in Men in Tights. Daleks Invasion Earth 2150 AD. Mixed ratings, actually. I rented it on YouTube. Peter Cushing, Bernard Cribbins. I was confused by the fact that, Barbara and Ian didn't come back. And, I, be honest, whoever the other girl is in this one, I didn't know that it wasn't Susan. And I think that might be because I was, at the start of the film, I was also ordering my dinner at the same time. And I was putting more focus into that, and then also people were arguing with me because of some bullshit that, even though this is the kind of thing that I would usually talk about in a video, I can't be bothered. This video is going to be long enough already, the amount of shit I have to do. Anyway. Yeah, I just didn't know it was her. But I knew that obviously Bernard Cribbins wasn't Ian. Because when I watched the first movie, my granny and my dad were like, "Oh, it's Roy Castle." The guy who plays Ian in the film. It's like, are none of you's gonna be like, "Holy shit, Peter Cushing is the Doctor"? No, Roy Castle. Anyway. And then my granny pointed out that was Bernard Cribbins. My uncle did tell me about Bernard Cribbins playing 2 roles in Doctor Who, but I didn't know that it was in the film. I knew he was Wilfred in the reboot, but I thought he was someone in the original show. I didn't know it was the films. His performance in it is nice. It's like Wilfred with energy. Because he's young. But overall, I didn't really like the film. Part of what I liked about the first film just wasn't here. Like, don't get me wrong, the daleks look good. They just didn't look as good as they did in the first film. And also, they didn't have that fucking amazing color palette because, this takes place on Earth instead of Scarrow. I don't have a lot to say is the problem, because most of the things that I have to say about this I've already said in my review for the first film. Yeah, I'm just gonna go on. But before I do go on, I just want to say something about Doctor Who. I'm watching it in the order that this website I use says. Like, the first film came out in 1965, but I don't know why I said website, it's an app. They said that it came out in 1966. And if you're watching it in order, you would need to watch the first episode of The War Machines, then finish The War Machines, then watch this, then start season 4. But I didn't do it in that order because I couldn't be bothered. Like, both of these films, like this one I understand because I didn't like it, but the first one was pretty good. So I don't get how, even though it was only an hour and 20 minutes, it felt long as fuck. But anyway. So there's not going to be any Doctor Who reviews for quite a while because I'm still on season 4. And 4, 5, and 6 it's going to be like really tough to get through just because of how long they are. And even though the majority of the episodes are missing, the majority of the missing episodes have been animated or reconstructed. So I'm not skipping out on a lot. I think there's only like 2 serials that you skip out on in season 4. Anyway, so no final review for a long time, and then I don't think there's any special shit they get free. Like, obviously there's no more films until I get to David Tennant's era, which I won't be watching the reboot because I've already seen it, but I will be watching stuff like those 2 animated films that David Tennant did. And yeah, that's all that I have to say. I don't know why I'm thinking of something else to say. Kneecap. universally positive ratings. My mind's just fucked. I watched it in the cinema. I'll be back. Sorry about that. Universally positive ratings. I watched it in the cinema. Michael Fassbender, and I won't recognize these people. Right, so, I thought the film was great. It was really funny. I think out of everything that has been released this year, this is, well, it's the only funny one, which is hard to compare it to, but it's just because it's funny. I would probably say I prefer this over Back to Black and One Love when it comes to music biopics. I never heard of Kneecap before this film came out, because I don't really pay attention to Northern Irish politics. And I just don't listen to rap, all that. I mean, I listen to some rap, like wee bits, but I'm not the biggest fan of it. But I seen the trailer for this and I thought it was quite good, and I was like, I don't care. There was pressure to like try and get it removed or something because people were scared that the UDA or whatever was going to bomb it. Like, I was born in 2004, long after the Good Friday Agreement was signed, so I know nothing about. I didn't experience the Troubles or anything like that. So, as someone who was born after that time, I like it. The way I see it is 2024. That doesn't happen anymore. At least not with paramilitaries over here. I mean, yeah, there was that IRA killing 5 years ago, but it was 5 years ago. It was the IRA, and it was just one death. No offense to Lyra McKee. So, just point being, I highly doubted that there was going to be bombings. And look at that, there weren't. I'm here. Despite how much I disagree with what they're saying in the film, it was really funny. And even without the comedy of it, I think the overall story was very interesting. Excuse me, because right. This man, I'm not gonna say his name for obvious reasons. Okay, it doesn't say how old he is, but I just want to see how old these people are, because also doesn't say how old he is. They were saying about, all this shit that happened during the Troubles and all that. I don't think they were alive during the Troubles. Like, they're pretty young looking. And honestly, the way I see it is, when it comes to shit like being in the IRA or the UDA or whatever, people my age don't really care about the sort of religious or political side to it. They just want to kill people. They want power. They don't care about. They say they care about all that shit. They don't. And especially when it comes to the Protestant side of it, if you're a fucking liar if you're saying that you want to show off your Protestantism and all that, because the way I see it is that Protestants don't mention that they're Protestants, whereas Catholics do. That's the difference that I see it as. And just especially with young people, you weren't born during the Troubles. You never faced oppression in your life, so I'm going to repeat myself, say anything else, I'm going to move on. And I think the only thing I have left to do is the middle and end review for Yakuza 4. I wasn't planning on putting these two together, but I just couldn't think of a good middle point, because I feel like if I talked about Sajima's story, just on its own, it would be very short. And then I don't remember why I didn't stop at Tanamura's story, but then Kiryu's story was ridiculously short. But I'll do this in order. So Sajima, who I think I've talked about a bit already in the beginning review, because I watched that cutscene of the 18 killings, in air quotes, and so I think I did mention that. So his first chapter, I was surprised that that guy, I forget his name, the other prisoner that he breaks out with, that he didn't like betray him. Maybe I'm biased because he's the guy that stabbed Kiryu at the end of Yakuza 3, but who knows. And then the next chapter was quite short. It's just fighting Kiryu, which it was a bit dumb because it's. I'm sorry for that sound. I'm standing on a plate and I just keep on like fucking about with it. Anyway, I'm fidgeting with my feet. I've never heard of that before, but moving on. It just seemed pointless because Kiryu wins anyway. And then the next three chapters were quite interesting with all the shit going on in the tunnels. But I don't get why they decided to like throw in that shit about the cops and needing the other shit underground, because I had no problem whatsoever maneuvering. Like I thought it was going to be a lot more difficult. There was no difficulty spike. Anyway, Tanamura's story was very interesting because you're playing as a cop, and even though you're not doing anything different than what you do in the rest of the games, because it is a lot of detective work in the series. Actually seeing it from the perspective of a cop, especially someone like Tanamura, who is a very interesting character. It Even though it wasn't unique, it was very interesting. And also just there are places that I didn't know existed. I've been exploring Kamurocho for 2 months now. Like, I was playing Yakuza 1 in June, and I had no idea about Little Asia until this game. Anyway, and then Kiryu's story. Oh, and something I mentioned about Tanamura. Chapter 3 shouldn't have existed. Like, they should have. Everything that happens in Chapter 3 should have happened in either Chapter 2 or Chapter 4, because Chapter 3 is 7 minutes long and has no gameplay. All it is he's like, I need to go to this place, goes to the place and looks for evidence, finds the evidence, and then the chapter ends. And it's a little different for Kiryu, but his 2 or 3 of his chapters were ridiculously short. I do get that it's a much longer game than the first 3, so maybe they got a bit ambitious, but I just don't get it. And as for the ending with the Ford and the Geller, it was really badass. And then the fights, it hurt to fight Dago, but then the others were. I didn't like them, so fucking whatever. Also, very repetitive with Date coming in the fucking helicopter on the roof of the Millennium Tower building. Like, I don't get why they can't think of something new. I mean, they did. And I didn't really think about this when I came to the beginner review, but I've been thinking about it since. I think the only reason why they introduced these new characters is because they ran out of ideas for Kiryu. That's why he has so little screen time. Because really all it is he finds Sajima, he fights him, he helps him, and then he finds the other guy, helps him, finds Lily, helps her, and then eventually they all collide. And it, yeah, it's a continuation of Kiri's story, but it's also a continuation of Tanamura Sajima's and Akiyama's stories. So it, don't get me wrong, I'm aware that the series continues by Kiri when they not spin off, when they transform into like a dragon. But then I'm sort of conflicted on how I feel about this because Yakuza series can and has survived without him. And it's the same with, like, say, Planet of the Apes. Like, I thought Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes wasn't really it was okay, but just, it is possible to do a really good continuation of Planet of the Apes without Caesar. And the same with this, with Kiri. It's just, it needs to be the right characters and the right story, which I think they are, like, really, really struggling. I was thinking when I was playing the first two games that, how are they going to do this for however many games, whatever my ideas, and they have. And I would really like to go on to Yakuza 5 immediately just to see, what's going on, what's going to happen next, but I can't because I'm playing these in the order that they came out, and there's 3 spin-offs in between 4 and 5. So I'm not going to be playing Yakuza 5 for a very, very, very long time. Because there's a game on the PSP, then there's, I know it's non-canon because it's zombies, but there's Dead Souls, which I would play, but since, it did come out here, but it's very expensive. It's like £750. So, nah. And then there's a sequel to the PSP game, then Yakuza 5. So, there's not going to be a lot of reviews coming out soon, other than Alien Romulus, and possibly a final review this week. But other than that, nothing for a while.